Today we're going to be looking at Lost Zone Giratina. The archetype actually gains a few great new toys from the new Paldea Evolved set, and Jet Energy seems like the biggest one, where Giratina previously didn't have a lot of space for switching cards. It was kind of lacking compared to single prize Lost Zone boxes, which just had more space to play the extra counts of the switch carts and the ropes and whatnot. And Giratina kind of fell behind, I think, in the previous meta, but I think with Roxanne and Iono being comeback potential cards, as well as having Jet Energy being that great space saver for us, allowing us to yeet into the active position with our Comfey as often as possible, or possibly even Giratina itself for that Abyss Seeking, giving us even more mid-game draw option as well, just by having more switch cards in the deck, is definitely helpful. I also really like seeing Giratina in a format where your opponent can constantly disrupt your hand. It can be a little bit more difficult to try and construct turns as a Lost Zone box player that's sort of more tempo-based, whereas if you're Giratina, you can bench your Vs, get into V-Stars, play those Mirage Gates proactively before you get hand disrupted, so you end up with a board much more often, and then you're just a few selects away from having very powerful turns. So I feel like there are a lot of reasons to like Giratina. It's done very well in large-scale Japanese tournaments as well as their like League Cup style events as well. So a lot of reasons to like Tina. The reason why we're looking at the list in Cube Koga is that I have tried to start updating my Paldea Evolved standard lists as I am doing my testing. I'm actually doing Worlds testing. I'm skipping the NAIC but going straight onto Worlds practice essentially. So I am getting a lot of reps in day by day. And this weekend actually I've been testing a lot of Giratina, and I feel like it definitely has some legs. I'm currently landing on this list. I do like the triple Jet Energy. Sometimes I'm between 2 and 3 copies because we have just quite a high count of energy in general. I have wanted at times 1 copy of Ultra Ball in the deck list. You may see one of the games that has an Ultra Ball in there, just to give yourself an extra out to that Giratina V-Star. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the list. Honestly, you could see an extra supporter coming in. A second Roxanne is okay, a second Iono. Bit of a debate around those. The reason why Roxanne is still played in the deck list is you love seeing that large hand size, even though you are disrupting your opponent, so that you can continue to find your own like rod gate combos and whatnot as you work towards that mid game. So even though Iono is better in like the majority of other decks, the Lost Zone boxes still much prefer having Rox as still one of their supporter cards. But yeah, it's got the option to use Greninja for powerful spread option, forcing Manaphy into play from many players. We have Lost Mine, still a very strong option at controlling our opponent's board and dealing with single prize threats. Even more so than ever, we can try and play as a single prize deck with the triple copies of Super Rod now. We can recycle our Sableye very easily, our Manaphy very easily, and the 1 copy of Cram. So these lower counts, you really get away with a lot more in this style of deck, thanks to the triple Super Rod coming in to help, obviously, with the gates, but it means we can play very one-pricey if need be. And it means we can be a little bit more liberal with Lost Zoning, possibly a Sableye or like some of your Tina pieces, knowing that you can constantly recycle part of your attacking line as well as the energy that you need for your gates at the time. So yeah, very versatile deck, very powerful. I feel like it does gain enough from Paldea Evolved to be back in that conversation. Now, I still think it probably doesn't sit at the very top tier, but this archetype does have answers for the majority of things in format. You'll notice we're playing Paths as well. Obviously, a very good early game option against the likes of Lugia, the likes of Mew. Can be good against Arceus players. And obviously, this is good throughout the game against Gardevoir players. So it's a massive stadium that we can be playing. And then the Cleansing Gloves is, again, that tech for the Gardevoir matchup, as well as helping out against the Mew VMAX matchup, where we push into 310 damage with our Lost Impact. So we have a Impact plus Requiem option for those higher damage output threats. Right now, I'm not playing Spiritomb because you can't on the ladder, but I am trying that soft answer in Cleansing Gloves rather than having a Spiritomb or a Drapion. You can certainly play those cards, and I think that would secure your matchup against Mew a little bit more, but I'm going with just this default standard 60 right now and not committing space to anything else. So enjoy the games, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Cheers. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. So it looks like we get to go first in our first game. We do have a mulligan, but also our opponent does, so we get to see what we're up against. And we have that nice VIP pass start. Looks like the opponent is playing a Lugia of some sort with Archeops. And they have that Snorlax. Alright, well, we're definitely going to go with that VIP pass. We will get Tina Conf quite happily. And I'm going to do some selects before committing to this Nest Ball. Yeah, definitely happy enough to get rid of this Manaphy, knowing that we saw their opening hand. Then we can select again, grab V-Star. Sableye is okay in the matchup, not terrible, but not fantastic either. There are times where you can make some wonky trapping plays if the opponent gets too greedy with energy at times, but looks like we get a pretty optimal start. 3 cards in our Lost Zone with this third select, and I have a Jet Energy for next turn as well. Nothing too painful in that Lost Zone either, so a pretty good start for us. The opponent gets an Aroma, heads. You can grab their Archeops. We see even more coin flips. Second Archeops, okay. They're going to attach their Snorlax and then research away the lot. Seems reasonable. They do find a V. Bravery Charm the active. So we're actually very close to just taking a knockout, right? Because if we can find Gate, we already have the Rope in hand. We have a lot of dig here. We have Colress, we have Greninja, and a lot of Flower Selects. Looks like we're getting down there, though, and still no Gate just yet. We literally win on the spot if we can knock out this Lugia. But looks like we weren't able to get there with our Colress double select plus Greninja. Unfortunate to not hit any of our gates there. We do have the fallback play of Path. And looks like I'm going to go for an Abyss-seeking play. Slightly more aggressive and does give up more prizes if the opponent can get out of this. But our hand just has no supporter. So rather than just sitting with a Comfey active and then having no pivot for next turn, I'm going to Abyss-seek to try and look for more cards. And this is a really tough choice, right? This would be our second Sableye going. So I end up trying to keep that, and it means we have to sacrifice that Jet Energy. Happy enough to get a V-Star gone, but yeah. Looks like the opponent can Ultra Ball for V-Star here. And currently doesn't have a Stadium Bounce, but will be able to research. And they do find Mesagoza, so the opponent had a very good hand to respond to an early Path play, which is a bit of a shame for us. But at least our hand is well developed right now. And with the Abyss Seeking, honestly, I might be able to get to 10 and just Requiem through this active here. They are going to respond. They do have a V-Guard on, so I can't simply Lost Impact. Let's have a look. We have a decent chunk of energy in there for Rod Gate plays. But I probably want to cycle to try and find another Giratina V here. Again, we have that KO pretty well lined up with the amount of selects and Colress to go. So really it's just about finding another Giratina V, I think. We can just get rid of that Comfey. We already have 3, we don't need the others. And Hisuian helps us pick up that Giratina V. So we have V-Star, we have Rod Gate plays. I suppose I'm just debating whether or not I should be like doing Rope Boss and just dealing with the Lugia V, knowing that that could also get V-guarded, or I should just try and go for the active. Again, fairly painful Colress, but we will now reload for our Rod and throw out some of these gates to power up our attack for this turn, as well as probably a Giratina on the bench can start getting some energy as well. Seems good, because we have to always anticipate some hand disruption. And yeah, thanks to V-Guard, we have to Requiem through this. But we can level up that prize race. Picking up Iono from prize isn't bad either. And our opponent's playing that sort of colorless build of Lugia that's slightly lower damage output at the moment. So I feel like we have a good chance of this V-Star actually sticking on board. And if that's the case, we're going to be in pretty okay shape, to be honest. See, Primal Turbo just for double Turbo Energy, so no V-Guard on the bench is actually pretty massive for us. But the opponent does Iono us into a slightly awkward hand. Don't have much to do, to be honest. Switch Cart's not live right now, because V-Star's obviously not a basic. But at least I can thin the deck of some of these energy cards. I feel like that should be everything I need to do. Playing this gate is slightly risky, I suppose. I suppose I'm keeping the Psych Energy around just for Sableye potential plays, but I don't think that's that strong. I probably should have held the gate there, honestly. Because now if the opponent does go for a... I suppose I'm safe from a Lugia boss play on my Tina, because they have double turbo. But if they can construct a Weird Ear boss play, then I am in danger, actually. Because that was my last gate. So I either shouldn't have played my last gate, or should have pulled out the Psychic and just put it on active. to keep that there, or taken away Water Energy from Comfey and kept Psychic Grass on active. So maybe a small mistake there, because I wasn't completely safe from a Weird Ear play there. As it happens, the opponent goes Reversal to finish off the Tina. And we do get into Roxanne, so that's definitely going to be our play here. We can first get some selects in. We're obviously looking for our V-Star. We don't need Iono because it's our Rock's turn. And we're hoping to win in 2 attacks here by how our prize map is lining up. So now we can play this Roxanne. We're looking for V-Star. And honestly, some more energy would be good because I want to back-to-back Lost Impact. So we do hit that energy. I think even attach retreating is slightly better than roping there. Just checking whether or not it's worth playing this Rod or not. Seems like we're all clear. So as long as the opponent doesn't have access to that V-Guard, which you have to think they would go for it earlier, right? If they had access to it. So it's only really if they took it off their prizes last turn for them to be in good shape here. Because with only one Archeops, they can't construct a Weird Ear, I don't think, that beats us. The Mesagoza is Tails, so we'll just see a Primal Turbo. And no, it's a Therapeutic, not a V-Guard, so looks like they're going down swinging, putting some damage in. And we have energy for game. We obviously had Rod Colress as a play. The bottom deck was actually our boss. So if they had chilled on the bench, it could have made us sweat a little bit. But there you go. Nice game against Colorless Lugia there. Now we're getting into things with Mew sleeves at the very least. And yeah, it is going to be Mew. The opponent gets to go first. Our hand is pretty good for a turn 2 hand. Double config Chorus. Can't say no to that. Early cleansers on their Mew. See a rope as well. Looks like they're just hand thinning as much as possible for their Genesects. You know the drill at this point. Fusion Strike system tops up on those cards. See Forest Stone. Now we see the Fusion Energy, so we know they are playing Meloetta and Sparkle. See another Mew come down. And looks like they're just going to protect energy just in case anything goes haywire. That seems reasonable. That's over to us. Alright, so Colress gets us straight into VIP, which you've got to be happy about. Rope looking good. Nest Ball also looking good in case I want to be versatile with my Comfey. Seems pretty good. We're going to develop early Giratina. See some cards before choosing on this Nest Ball, because I would like more Tina in play. I'd like the extra Comfey in play as well. Wouldn't be too bad. Seems like I could pay retreats. Gloves is a good keep, because that's pretty much our tech card for the matchup. Now we'll take Tina. And decision of where to attach. I think Comfey bench is, yeah, that seems like the best thing to do to protect around hand disruption. Obviously not going to commit the Cleansing Gloves, because the opponent could very easily gust and take 2 prizes this turn. But our hand is low-key stacked. So this is one of the benefits of playing Tina over Lost Box. With Lost Box, your whole deck is like 1 prize attacking threats like throughout the majority of the game. So they can constantly spam that hand disruption. But when you're Giratina, they're incentivized to use Gust instead, which makes you actually keep your hand quite often, which is pretty sick. Especially when we're holding Gate, Gloves, Colress. The opponent is going through the motions, getting their VMAXs rolling. They obviously have their Forest Seal Stone still intact if they want to cherry pick boss. See that V-Star power used actually, and it will be boss's orders. Taking out a Tina, okay. So our turn is actually already really good, because we have Colress Gate Gloves V-Star. So I can KO the active. We even hit pick up Path now. So really it's just about finding our next Tina, I suppose, is the next challenge. I probably should have played one of these rods, right? If I'm looking for a Tina to be safe here. I think I've probably drawn too many cards without recovering this Giratina, but I guess I have Ball Search outs as well. So without the spare Tina, which I probably should have rodded earlier, honestly, we are a little bit subject to getting bopped here, straight back. Looks like we're just thinning everything here. But hopefully with the Path in play as well, and this big knockout, we could be in good shape. It really just comes down to if we can survive with this V-Star. I definitely should have rodded that second V at the start of the turn before digging loads. Because if I have the backup Tina at this point, I don't think I ever lose, because I have so much in the Lost Zone, I just Requiem for game. The opponent starts with Judge, because they had no Stadium Bounce, but then did find Lost City, and that's their first tablet. They need to play 3 tablets, right? Let's see, Cram Heads, that's scary. Second tab, so they have 1 tab remaining in the deck to dig for. And that's their last Fusion Strike system. So it looks like it's down to a Cram. Okay, we survive. And yeah, that's actually massive for us now. I think we just can't lose from this stage. I guess they could jump back into the deck. I guess that's their best play. Run and hide with their Mew. Otherwise they just lose on board, right? So they end up having to bring the Meloetta into the mix. We can start digging with our Comfey. Definitely want to try and find a way of knocking out this Mew on the bench, right? Their lone Mew. Seems like the play, especially now that I can bench on the Giratina. Seems really solid. Looks like I'm just keeping those pivot options available for next turn to see how the opponent reacts. Because they can go Sparkle, attach KO. That's the only way they do any damage here. So I know I get to keep the hand. Then can Vacuum. Draw 1. They still can knock us out with Sparkle tablets, but no, they don't get there with their 1 draw from Genesect. So a little bit fortunate there, because because I missed it, it gave them a window to blow us up. But we went into attacks in that matchup very often, so it really does come down to that the amount that you ramp that Lost Zone. That's really the big stickler. Let's get into our last game of the day then. And we see Bidoof, so it could be Arctina, it could be Chien-Palk, could be... I think that's really it. Not much else plays Bibs, right? And the Hisuian is the giveaway. Looks like we are up against Chien-Palk. They have the VIP as well, so pretty good start. They have the Pog artwork, Friggybacks. They're going to search out their energy. They're going to proactively Skaters Park, which is probably good for us, seeing as though we want to try and path them out quite often here. We'll start with Chorus, so we know that Manaphy is valuable. Looks like I'm going to have to throw away V-Star and Sableye. Tough choice of Jet versus Comfey here. I suppose I'm debating whether or not I should Abyss Seek this. Seems to be what we're going for. Possibly an argument for me to Escape Rope there before the Abyss Seeking to make it harder for them to not have Shivery Chill value. But I guess with Skaters Park, it really doesn't change too much anyway. We do see Irida for Candy backs, so they have the turn 2 Dream. And they'll be taking 2 prizes here. So a pretty scary start, all things considered. The good news is we're pretty close. I think we're at 6 in the Lost Zone. So I can switch carts here and unlock my gates. And then Iono them back, possibly. They're already at a 3-card hand, so maybe not even Iono. We're going to Nest Ball out. Yeah, Greninja's not great here. Sableye's not great here. Nothing's really that good, to be honest. Looks like it's going to be Cram. Let's rope them. And they actually give us Palk, which gives us a 2-prize response here, which is the good news. Basically everything that they... Thanks to the Cram, it basically put them off us... put them off giving us Bidoof, right? So... We can Iono now, just for mostly our side of things. And we hit Path, which is pretty massive. So we're trying to make it hard for the response KO here from the Chien-Palk without its ability. Online, they'd have to start finding some of these superiors. And denying that Paldea V-Star power is obviously very helpful as well. We're at 9 in the Lost Zone now. The opponent insta-Iridas and has Stadium. What an insane 4-card hand. Insta-bounce into the Irida. Yeah, nice. And then they Shivery Chill. So it looks like they have got the response KO. The only good news is that there's no Bibarel, right? That's the only good news. We have Hisuian now, so we can get our Giratina that we were kind of lacking this turn. And we do pick up the Sableye, so I think Sableye Sprinkle the Bidoof is a slow way round, but I think we need to stop the opponent drawing, right? If we're going to win this game, we need to only give up 1 prize next turn, and then we need to try and, like, Tina tank as well, possibly. Pretty easy selecting. Definitely going into Sableye to deny this Bidoof. Definitely going Path again. Definitely going Tina. And we're going to play some of these gates out as well. Because if the Tina goes down, everything goes to pots, so we'll just pretend that boss doesn't exist. And we're going to deal with Bidoof, for sure. And some sprinkle on backs, just in case the opponent has absolutely nothing to do next turn. But no, they have back-to-back retrievals, so they can at least take a KO here. Try and dodge boss. Yeah. And they are just going to Hailblade. And taking it off the active might be a fatal mistake, because that would give us the option to boss them back here. And have a good way of tanking. They'd have a 1-card hand plus top deck to beat us. We haven't played a boss yet. We have 7 cards in deck, so if we can gust this Chien-Palk, we're good. Basically. I don't want to say we're good, because they could top deck Supporter and then get out of it, but we actually do end up finding boss's orders, so we can make the Jet Energy play. And we're just going to Requiem through this and say, can you beat this Tina this turn? With Path out and 1 card in hand plus top deck. So even superiors aren't outs right now, and they end up having to concede. So yeah, Giratina just about getting over the line in a few situations. Sometimes we're missing things, sometimes we're having to have subpar turns. You'll notice I do Abyss Seek quite a lot, even though it gives up prizes. And that's because sometimes if you're just supporterless, you just have to go for those plays and start fueling up that Lost Zone, because, yeah, you need to get into the game and ramp to 10 where your deck really starts kicking on. So let me know your thoughts on Giratina down below. Hope you enjoyed the videos, and, sorry, the games. And I'll see you tomorrow for another one. Cheers.